Hey teens, I'm Mentor Bernie Kirschbaum. In this episode, we will talk about the who, what, why, when, and how of sponsorship. We'll not only look at it from the team point of view, but also from the sponsor side. I do have a little insight into this part. For my day job, I'm the CEO of a manufacturing company in Battle Creek, who happens to be a sponsor of Q-Branch. So let's talk about getting sponsors for your team, because this is how we robot. Let's dive into why a team needs sponsorships. Just like any business, club, church, or sports team, it makes time, materials, and resources to make things. Your team members, mentors, and parents provide a lot of the time in the form of manpower and time. When you need materials to build your robot, buy safety glasses, or dress the team in matching shirts, all of the items need to be bought. Then there are the services that make things happen. This can be the fee for the team website, the cost for the hotel if the team travels to faraway competitions, or the food for the team eats. The team has to make sure they can get the items. Some can be donated, others need to be purchased. In either case, the team needs to have the connections or the money to make it happen. This is where sponsorship comes in. A robotics team runs the same way as a company. Every company has expenses and revenue. Expenses is what it costs a company to pay its people, buy materials, and pay for services. Every bill your company gets for things we buy needs to be paid. Think about your own bills, like your gas for your car, your phone bill, or when you buy your school lunch. A company sells their product and sends a bill to the customer who bought their product or services. The money the company collects is called revenue or income. The difference between revenue and expenses is called profit or loss. Simply put, income minus expenses equals profit or loss. You might ask yourself, what does the robotics team sell? You're correct, nothing. But how can we buy stuff to build a robot and make it to the competition? Most school-based teams get some funds from their school district. For anything else, that's where the sponsorships come in, or the team would run out of money very quickly. Your team will need to determine a basic budget. Yes, another business term. A budget is the best guess of how much money the team needs to build the robot and pay for all the things the team needs throughout the season. Ask a team that has been around for a while if they can help you identify the different expenses. Your accounting teacher might also be able to help you with this process. The team is probably looking to between $12,000 and $30,000. Once you know what you might need to spend for the season, you have to figure out where you can find the money. Start looking under your mattress, in your car's cup holder, or in the school parking lot. Just kidding. You probably have to figure out that a few coins here and there will not quite be enough to run a robotics team for a year. Bake sales and car washes might be bringing a bit more, but they're also not a very predictable source of income for the team. The best way to ensure your team has the income needed is to find sponsors that are willing to give you money. These sponsors are the school districts, families, friends of the team members, foundations, and companies. Let's briefly talk about the non-company sponsors. Parents, family members, and family friends are an easy target to sponsor a team, especially if you are just getting started. This is a very easy way to get some money for the team. Keep in mind that most individuals are not providing a large amount of money. School districts are usually giving some money to the clubs and teams for a school. You might have to go in front of the school board to ask for funding. Depending on the school district, this can be a very good source of money for the robotics team. Foundations such as community foundations, foundations for local and national companies, and foundations involved in STEM, science, or other special causes that relate to robotics are willing to provide funds for the first teams. Check with the counseling office for a list of local foundations. Many of them are also providing scholarships to students. You might ask, why would a company want to give money to a robotics team? That's a very good question. I think we should ask our friendly CEO why his company has decided to sponsor Q-Branch. Manufacturing companies need people with a lot of different skills. To run a company, you not only need people who design and manufacture the products and do the research and development. We also need people who sell our products, handle the purchasing and accounting, handle all the human resource tasks, and promote our products. To find people, a company needs to have exposure to the local community. Robotics team members, as well as their friends and families, are potential future employees. Robotics students bring a very versatile skill set. In addition to the STEM skills, robotics team members now know how to work together and solve problems, and know how to communicate with peers, mentors, judges, and companies. Promoting STEM and making a connection between the jobs that we have and the skills needed is another important part of supporting FIRST teams. This support is not only through money, but also by people volunteering their time as mentors, coaches, and judges. At robotics competitions, our company gets even more exposure to the community and possible employees. And last but not least, every company is a part of the community, no matter how big or small the company is. Giving back to the local community is an important part for companies. You get back what you put in. For an area to become a hub for a certain technology or manufacturing, needs a lot of companies and people to pull in the same direction. Detroit became the motor city, with more and more people getting into car manufacturing. Let's take a look at what companies might be a good fit as sponsor. Manufacturing companies are a top choice. They design and build products, just like robotics teams. The employees and managers can easily make the connections and will see the benefits of supporting a FIRST robotics team with sponsorship or manpower. Manufacturing companies include companies that make cars, planes, medical parts, and much more. There are a lot of companies that make parts and supporting the big manufacturers. These can be small companies with 1 to 2 employees or international companies with many plants. Remember, all of them are part of your local community. Another set of companies that are good targets for sponsorship or for donating materials or parts are industrial supply companies. These companies supply tools, fasteners, cables, sensors, and materials to the manufacturing companies. Just like most companies, the robotics team also needs some swag and other marketing material. Local companies like sports apparel shops, web design companies, and marketing agencies might also be interested in supporting a FIRST team. And let's not forget, a hardworking team of teenagers can get very hungry. And feeding an army is not a cheap endeavor. Rather than having your parents take turns feeding the team, consider signing on your favorite pizza place, sandwich shop, or local restaurant as a sponsor. Here's a fun pro Q-tip. Let me change real quick.
Hey Dad, do you know a company that might be interested in sponsoring our FIRST team?
Let me think. Or maybe I should ask the CEO of Rosler to see if they're interested. I will let you know. Yes, use all of your connections to find sponsors. Talk to your parents, extended family, and ask family friends where they work and if that company might be interested in sponsoring your team. How about getting a little insight on how to connect with potential sponsors? Let me hand it over to Emma.
Hi teams. To connect with potential companies, you're going to need to find some companies. You can find them using social media such as Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. By finding these companies, you can find an email and phone number to contact. A pro Q-tip is to keep an organized list of contact information so you can reach out to them in the future. When calling or emailing any company, there needs to be a professional approach. Always address with Mr., Miss, or Mrs. Give an introduction of your team, explain what FIRST is, ask politely for a time to present, thank the person you're speaking to, and leave your first and last name. Especially when this is the first time contacting this company, be sure to follow the basic approach to a phone call. Number 1, warm greeting. Number 2, who are you and what organization you represent? Number 3, who would you like to talk to? Number 4, why you are calling them. And number 5, follow up. For what we are doing, we're trying to talk to someone in human resources, a manager, or someone working as an engineering lead. These are the people who will either be able to set up the proper paperwork for sponsorship, get hooked on the idea first, or both. Let's see this in action. Hi, this is Emma Kirschbaum calling on behalf of FIRST Robotics Team 4327, Q Branch. With whom am I speaking to? Glad to have a chance to speak with you today, Ms. Duckworth. I was hoping you could help me get in touch with someone at Rosler so our team could come and present this amazing thing our students do with robotics and sign Rosler on as a sponsor. Who would be the best person for the presentation? Great. When is the next time they are available to listen to a presentation? This should not take more than 20 minutes of your time. Fantastic. Let me give you my email address, and if I could have yours, then we can talk about more details that way. My email address is frc. In this example, we started off by stating who we were and who we were representing on the call. Be direct and concise. This is a business call, not a friendly chat. We are polite, but we do not want to waste anyone's time. Then, we directly asked for the right person for the presentation. We did not want the word no to be an option here. It was not, is there anybody? It was instead, who would be the best call? This gives the person on the other end of the call the chance to think and nominate someone they know at work. If the person asks you to call back or not, follow up. If the person already agreed to the presentation and gave you their email address, then directly follow up with a thank you email for their time. If they ask you to call back later and you got sent to the voicemail without a return call, then wait about 3 business days and then call back. Persistence is key. Sometimes we have to call back 5 or 6 times to nail down a meeting and secure a sponsorship. Many people, myself included, do not want to make these phone calls. However, with these efforts, our team would not have sponsors and therefore no season. We prefer not to email, as emails can be quickly deleted. Answering phone calls from students will take a little more personal approach to reaching out to companies. And once seen face-to-face, companies have a tough time saying no to students getting geared up for robotics at the high school level. Once you've figured out who to contact, it's time to present. This is probably the most nerve-wracking time for a high school student.
Just a quick pro Q-tip. We know that students are not pros at presenting to companies. The more often you do this, the easier it gets. Just be yourself.
One of the biggest issues for students speaking to sponsors and even to judges is the automatic assumptions. Odds are high that the people you're presenting to have never been to a FIRST event and know next to nothing about FIRST robotics in general. They do not need to know the ins and outs of game challenges, but instead you need to communicate the general impact FIRST has on you and your school or organization. Talk about what changed for you or what opportunities were presented because of being involved in FIRST. If you are a rookie team, then speak to that. This is a huge step for you and your school by getting involved in this great organization.
Sponsors are not only there with you during the build season, you can certainly relate to the concept of bringing raw ideas to life through manufacturing. Showcase how students are able to find their niche in sub-teams, but work as a whole to come up with a common solution. If the sponsors are brand new to FIRST, be sure to mention how there are over 3,500 teams worldwide, all competing in the same challenge every year. People love to know that this organization has teams on every continent across the globe.
Scripting these meetings is very important, especially for newer presenters. There is nothing worse than sitting in a company's meeting room, trying to convince them to give you their money, and then suddenly having no idea what to say. Another essential way to combat this is making sure to have your presenters run through a mock meeting in front of other team members. Oftentimes you may think you know everything you want to say, but then when you actually get to the meeting, it doesn't play out how it did in your head. Now, let's hear from a person who has been through both sides of these meetings. Let's ask the expert what he is looking for from a team and what makes a company commit to sponsoring.
Building confidence in presenting to people you don't know is one of the reasons why we want teams to come to our office and present to a group of people. If in person is not possible, ask to get a Zoom call set up that allows you to present. The presentation should showcase the team members, and some of their achievements. Make sure you have plenty of pictures of team activities and the robot that shows some of the sponsors. And use some of the reasons why companies should sponsor a team from earlier in the video to speak to the decision makers. Make sure that you show the companies what they get in return for sponsorship. Explain to the participants what these things are. Don't assume that your audience knows your lingo and acronyms. QBranch always brings a pamphlet outlining the different levels of sponsorship and thereby benefits to the team. This pamphlet also includes sponsor logos, summaries of FIRST and a team, and contact information to reach out with questions. For a company to be able to process the sponsorship request, we need some sort of document that has all the necessary details. We highly recommend bringing along a breakdown of the season's budget, planning out registration, materials, foods, and transportation costs. Make sure it is clear where the money needs to be sent to and who the check is made out to. Especially in bigger companies, there are several levels of approval before a check is mailed out. A general rule for life is that if you want someone to do something, then make that something as easy as possible. If you want a company to write a check, Then have the justification ready in writing along with the contact information and precisely to whom the check is written. Once you have some sponsors for the season, make sure you stay in touch with them and share what the team is doing. You can use a team newsletter to share with your sponsors or post on social media and tag the sponsor company. This allows them to reshare it with their customers and followers. This will make it easier to go back ahead of the next season to ask if they're willing to sponsor the team again. If you have a team website, make sure you use the sponsor's logo and correct name. A link back to the website is also important. Emma, any tips how Q Branch has kept track of its sponsors?
We keep an up-to-date spreadsheet of all current and former sponsors along with their contact information, including email and phone numbers. In large companies, we find that when employees move on to another organization, the phone number remains in the same office. Usually, the new person is willing to pick up where the last contact left off. Although this means establishing a relationship with the new person, the team's relationship to the company remains strong. Engaging in local events is a great way to build your team's relationship with sponsors. For example, in the past, Rosler has thrown a manufacturing night where local businesses were invited to host a booth and talk about their company to interested members in the community. Q Branch took this opportunity to showcase one of our off-season robots, Heavy Metal, a t-shirt launching robot. This gave many people their first hands-on experience with what our team does and allowed us to build more meaningful connections with the people who fund what we love to do. Every year, Q Branch hosts arguably our most important event for building connections, our annual sponsor night. This is a night where we invite all of our sponsors and parents to come see what our team has been working on through the season. This is great exposure as parents get to see what their kids have spent so much time working on, and sponsors get to see what their funds have gone towards. This event is composed of a structured set of presentations created by each of our sub-team to showcase the work they have put in throughout the season. Once the presentations are finished, the crowd is free to enjoy the provided refreshments, watch live demonstrations of robots in action, and mingle with the team members. Our team features our sponsors on our team website, t-shirts, pit, and community banners, and the robot itself. We make sure to showcase our highest sponsors, the championship level sponsors, first and with the largest logos. Sometimes there's a friendly rivalry between companies where you can play them against each other. This is highly dependent on the relationship and requires a solid foundation between the companies and your team. If you feel comfortable, then you could point out how a company A was a championship level sponsor and therefore had the highest and largest logo to encourage company B to follow suit. Make sure to find or ask the highest resolution logo available for the company. Nobody wants their logo appearing pixelated when featured to the public.
In wrapping up, you need to get to know your team, their parents, and your community to find sponsors for your programs. Even though you're not selling a product per se, you're giving them positive advertising in the community at large, as well as establishing contacts with future problem solvers of the world. Make the phone calls to connect with the right people in an organization, and then wow them with your pitch about life-changing experience that is FIRST Robotics. Student-led presentations have a huge impact on the connection between great people at your local company and the greater people on your team. Always be direct and have financial figures ready to display. When looking for the financial commitment, have the paperwork ready with your information and precisely to whom they are writing the check. Then during and following the build season, be sure to give opportunities to sponsorship to keep up to date with the happenings of the team. A robot showcase or even a guided tour at the nearby event will do wonders to help cement connections between a sponsor and their commitment to helping your team and FIRST flourish. Now get out there in the community and talk to some potential new sponsors. We're confident you can do this. Get the support and mentorship for your team is looking for.
Thanks for watching and being with us here today. Remember to leave a comment with your team name and number so we know what robots to cheer for this season. And as always, subscribe to this channel to keep finding out more on This Is How We Robot.